The Apache tribe was surrounded, outnumbered, and moments away from losing everything when a lone cowboy rode into the fight and changed their fate forever. Grateful beyond words, the Apache chief offered him the greatest honor the tribe could give and asked him to choose one of 12 remarkable women. Everyone believed the cowboy would choose beauty, youth, or status. Instead, he made a decision so unexpected that it stunned the entire tribe, transformed old enemies into trusted friends, and changed the future of the frontier forever. The morning sun rose over the wide frontier, casting a warm golden light across the rolling hills and towering pine trees. Hidden beyond the valley was a peaceful Apache village where families prepared for the annual harvest gathering. Children laughed as they chased one another through the open fields, elders arranged baskets filled with corn and dried fruit, and skilled craftsmen put the final touches on handmade blankets and carved wooden gifts. It was a day meant for gratitude, unity, and celebration. Several miles away, Ethan Carter guided his horse along a quiet mountain trail. He was a humble cowboy returning home after delivering cattle to a neighboring ranch. Known for his honesty and calm nature, Ethan believed that every journey offered an opportunity to help someone in need. He carried only the supplies necessary for the trip and expected nothing more than a peaceful ride home. As he approached a rocky overlook, an unusual sight caught his attention. A thick cloud of dust rose into the sky near the Apache village. Moments later, frightened horses raced across the open ground without riders, and worried voices echoed through the valley. Ethan quickly rode closer, stopping at a safe distance to understand what had happened. Several supply wagons traveling toward the village had become trapped after a narrow mountain path collapsed during the night. The fallen rocks blocked the only easy route, leaving families separated from much-needed food, blankets, and medicine. Confusion spread as people searched for another way through the steep hills before darkness arrived. Without hesitation, Ethan rode toward the gathering and greeted the Apache warriors with respect. "I know another trail through these mountains," he said calmly. "It is longer, but it is wide enough for the wagons if everyone works together." The warriors exchanged careful glances before their chief stepped forward. His eyes studied the quiet cowboy for a long moment. Then he nodded. Before the sun reached its highest point, villagers, warriors, and the lone cowboy were working side by side, unaware that this single act of trust would begin a friendship that would change all of their lives forever. By sunset, the last supply wagon rolled safely into the Apache village. Families welcomed the returning workers with grateful smiles, and children hurried to help unload sacks of grain, blankets, and medicine. What had begun as a day filled with worry ended with relief because strangers had chosen to work together instead of giving in to fear. The Apache chief approached Ethan with a warm smile. "You came to our people expecting nothing in return," he said. "That is the mark of an honorable man. Tonight, you will be our guest." Ethan accepted the invitation with gratitude. As evening settled over the valley, a large fire was lit in the center of the village. Families gathered in a wide circle while musicians played gentle rhythms on handmade drums. Elders shared stories of courage, children laughed as they played nearby, and the aroma of freshly prepared food filled the cool evening air. Ethan noticed that everyone contributed in some way. Some prepared meals, others cared for horses, while younger members helped the elders without being asked. The strong sense of unity reminded him of the values his own parents had taught him long ago. The next morning, Ethan did not wait to be given work. He helped repair a damaged fence, carried water from the nearby stream, and assisted several young men in fixing the wheel of a supply wagon. His willingness to work alongside everyone earned quiet respect throughout the village. Later that afternoon, the chief called the community together beneath a large cottonwood tree. "Our guest has shown courage, humility, and respect," the chief announced. "According to our custom, it is time to offer him a choice reserved for those who have earned the trust of our people." A quiet murmur spread through the gathering. Moments later, 12 respected young women stepped forward, each known for her wisdom, kindness, talents, and devotion to her family and community. The chief turned to Ethan with a calm smile. "The choice is yours," he said. The entire village waited in complete silence, wondering what the quiet cowboy would do next. The village remained quiet as the 12 young women stood in a respectful line before the gathering. Each came from a different family and was admired for her own gifts. One was known for her skill in caring for horses. Another was respected for her knowledge of healing plants. Others were gifted weavers, artists, storytellers, or teachers who helped guide the younger children. Ethan looked at each of them with respect, but he did not step forward. After a long moment, he turned to the chief. "Your generosity honors me," he said. "But before I make any decision, I would like to know the people behind the faces. A person's heart is worth far more than first impressions." A gentle murmur spread through the crowd. The chief smiled. "You have asked for wisdom instead of haste. That request brings honor to us all." Over the next 2 days, Ethan spent time speaking with each woman while their families welcomed him into their homes. They shared meals, stories, and laughter as he listened far more than he spoke. One young woman dreamed of teaching children to read the changing seasons and care for the land. Another hoped to help travelers who became lost in the mountains. A third spoke about preserving the songs and stories passed down by her grandparents so future generations would never forget their history. Each conversation revealed kindness, strength, and quiet determination. On the final afternoon, Ethan met a woman named Ayanna beneath a large oak tree overlooking the valley. Instead of speaking about herself, she asked about his ranch, his neighbors, and the people who depended on him. "What makes you happiest?" Ethan asked. She smiled softly. "Seeing people work together," she replied. "When neighbors help one another, everyone becomes stronger." Her answer stayed with Ethan long after their conversation ended. That evening, the chief gathered the entire village once more. The time had come for Ethan to make his choice. The 12 women stood proudly beside their families, and the village waited in complete silence. Ethan stepped forward with calm confidence. "I did not choose the person with the finest clothing or the greatest talents," he said. "I chose the one whose kindness, wisdom, and heart reminded me that the strongest future is built by people who lift others before themselves." As he turned toward Ayanna, a warm smile spread across the faces of the elders. The chief nodded with quiet pride. "You have chosen with honor," he said. "That is why your decision will be remembered for generations." The chief stepped beside Ethan and Ayanna, raising his hand as the village grew quiet once again. "Today," he said, "we celebrate more than a choice. We celebrate the values that guided it. Honor is found in respect, kindness, and patience." The villagers nodded in agreement. Ayanna stepped forward with a gentle smile. "I accept this path with gratitude," she said. "May our future be one of understanding and friendship." The following weeks brought new beginnings for both the Apache village and the nearby frontier town. Ethan and Ayanna traveled between the two communities, encouraging cooperation wherever they went. Ranchers shared farming techniques, while Apache craftsmen taught traditional skills for working with leather, weaving blankets, and caring for horses. Families who had once viewed one another with uncertainty slowly became trusted neighbors. Children gathered in open fields to play games together, while elders exchanged stories beside evening campfires. The simple acts of sharing knowledge and helping one another created friendships that neither community had imagined possible. The chief often watched these gatherings with quiet satisfaction. "One act of courage opened the door," he told his council. "But respect and kindness are what keep that door open." As the seasons passed, the bond between the village and the frontier town grew stronger. Trade flourished, harvests became more successful, and neighbors willingly helped one another during difficult times. Ethan realized that the greatest reward he had received was never the honor offered by the chief. It was the opportunity to build lasting friendships and become part of a community where trust was earned through actions, compassion, and respect. The frontier had begun a new chapter, and its future looked brighter than ever before. Years passed, but the story of Ethan and Ayanna never faded from the hearts of the people. Every spring, families from the frontier town and the Apache village gathered beneath the same great cottonwood tree where the chief had once honored the quiet cowboy. The celebration became a tradition filled with music, shared meals, horse riding, and stories that reminded each new generation how trust had been built through simple acts of kindness. Children from both communities played together without fear or prejudice. They learned that friendship was stronger than old misunderstandings and that respect should always be earned through character rather than appearance. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the distant mountains, the chief stood beside Ethan and Ayanna with a smile of quiet pride. "You came to us as a stranger," he said. "Today, you are family." Ethan looked across the gathering and realized that the greatest reward he had ever received was not recognition or honor. It was the lasting friendships, the united community, and the hope they had created together. From that day forward, the people of the frontier remembered one simple truth: a single act of courage, guided by kindness and respect, has the power to change lives for generations to come. Every great story reminds us that true character is revealed not by the rewards we receive, but by the choices we make when no one is watching. Ethan earned the respect of an entire tribe because he acted with courage, humility, and compassion. In return, he gained something far greater than he ever expected: trust, friendship, and a place where he would always belong. If you enjoyed this Western frontier story, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more original stories filled with courage, honor, unforgettable adventures, and meaningful lessons from the Old West. Leave a comment below and tell us, what would you have done if you were in Ethan's place? Would your choice have been the same? Share this story with your friends and family to spread its message of kindness, respect, and understanding. Thank you for watching, and until our next adventure, keep your heart open, your word honest, and never underestimate the power of one good decision. We'll see you in the next Western story.